Hi, welcome to another edition of Entertainment Elite. I'm Andrew. This is Todd. Today we're going to do our UFC 134 predictions. Obviously, we're going to start with Big Nog versus Brendan Schaub. I'm going to let Todd take the lead on this one.
Well, this one I wavered for a little while on this one, as I always tend to do. I flip-flop quite a bit. But I was on Brendan Schaub for a while. I was a big fan of his. But as I look back at the records and the fact that they're in Brazil, it's Big Nog's home. I'm going to go with him. Home field advantage. I'm going to take Big Nog to beat Brendan Schaub.
Yeah, I'll go with Big Nog. I say he's going to TKO Brendan Schaub before the end of the third round.
I am not that bold. I refuse to pick a decision in this fight.
I definitely think it's going to end up being Big Nog. His striking is far superior. His ground game is legendary. Unless you ask Chael Sonnen.
His ground game is definitely. I don't know about the striking. Brendan Schaub's got some knockouts. Granted, it's against people like Mirko Cro Cop, and Gabriel Gonzaga, but still, regardless.
Yeah, he's got a couple good knockouts.
Those guys were once greats in this sport as well, so.
All right. Let's
move on. I'll give it to him with the ground game.
Yeah, it's definitely with the ground game. Moving on, we're going to go up to Forrest Griffin versus Mauricio Shogun Rua. I'm going to go with Forrest on this one. I think his striking is better than Shogun's. His ground game is... Shogun's ground game is probably better, but as compared to people Forrest has beat versus people Shogun has beat in the UFC, Forrest is more equipped to deal with the quality of talent as opposed to somebody who comes from pride. So I'm going to go with Forrest.
Well, like you stated, no pride fighter's ever really been any good in the UFC outside of Shogun, and even he's got a 3-3 record. It's not even that impressive a record, but he has been light heavyweight champion. I wavered, just like I said before, on this one for a little bit. I thought Shogun for quite a while because I was let down by Forrest when I recently watched UFC 101 and saw what Anderson Silva did to him. But then I remembered it was Anderson Silva, and Shogun's not Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Forrest. I think he's bounced back quite well actually from that fight with Anderson Silva, and I think he's gonna take this, even though Shogun does have the home field advantage, much like Big Nog. So you never know with that coming into play.
Yeah. I mean,
these guys got to travel all the way to Brazil for this fight, but
I mean, let's be honest. With this fight, we could very easily just flip a coin.
Yes.
It could go either way.
Well, you could do that for either of those two fights, Schaub and Nogueira and Forrest Shogun. You can flip a coin, but that's fighting in general.
I definitely don't think that Shogun has the same kind of heart that Forrest does. Forrest definitely...
Well, just look at their first fight. He quit in their first fight. By the third round, he couldn't hold his hands up. He was just standing there waiting for it to be over.
Very few people out there that can compete with Forrest Griffin when it comes to stamina. Very few people out there.
Yeah, so if that happens again, definitely look for Forrest to take it. But I am going to say Forrest Griffin wins this. I think this one will go to decision, though. I think Shogun's gotten better, a little bit better in the stamina. I think it's going to go, because it almost went to decision, but he gave up and got submitted with 20 seconds left the first time.
I think it was in the last minute. I'd actually have to look it up, but. And moving on to the main event of UFC 134, like we even need to actually discuss it, but we're going to. It is Anderson Silva versus Yushin Okami. Yeah, about that.
I'm not understanding why Anderson Silva main events UFC events anymore. He should be the opening match, because if you're not, who's paying $45 to watch Anderson Silva dance and kick you for 3 minutes? I mean, outside of Chael Sonnen, that's the only entertaining fight he's had in 5 years. I mean, yes, he's got tons of highlight knockouts, but I watch MMA for good fights, and a knockout isn't a good fight. It's good on Ultimate Knockouts. I'll buy that, but I can just wait for that.
My thing with it is, even if Yushin Okami would somehow be able to be superior to Anderson Silva, which he's not in any way, shape, or form.
No, that's the other problem with this fight.
Not just Yushin Okami, but anybody. Anderson Silva's too fast and too precise with his strikes. He's going to outpoint you to a decision every time.
Yep.
That's why he's the best in the world. That's why he's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. That's exactly why he's held onto the belt since 2006. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be 5 years as champion if he wins this fight. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Anderson Silva doesn't deserve anything he's got, because he is the greatest fighter in the world, bar none. 5 years as champion, once he wins this fight, because he will win this fight, I'm going to say he knocks Yushin Okami out in the first round, because if Anderson Silva comes out and he's not playing around
like the Damian Maia fight,
like he does sometimes tend to do over the last couple of years, he's going to finish Okami in the first round.
I really think Anderson Silva gets bored.
He does get bored.
That's why he does it.
He's as bored as we are.
Yeah, I mean,
and because he feels just like we all do that he's not fighting the right people.
And there is no 185-pound fighter in the world that can compete with Anderson Silva.
And that's the problem, though. I mean, he can feel bored like we all do, but who's going to fight him?
And
who hasn't he beat?
Even if he moves up to 205 pounds, there may only be one person at 205 pounds that I think stands a chance. That's John Jones, but that's like wishing on a star anymore.
Yeah.
But even at 205 pounds, there's nobody at 205 pounds that can compete with Anderson Silva. That's really my personal opinion on it. I mean, every time he's moved up to 205 pounds, he's made the 205 pounders look like amateurs.
Rich Franklin ran to the 205 division.
Yes.
Because he couldn't beat Anderson Silva.
Absolutely.
So, what's that tell you? Yeah. He ran to that division because there was no way he was ever going to win the middleweight title back. And as long as Silva's got it.
He's not going to win the 205-pound belt either, but that's a whole other show in itself.
Yes, yes. This is just UFC 134 predictions. But like I said, Okami's going to get finished in the first round if Silva cares enough to finish him.
I was going to say second round.
Regardless, even if it goes to decision, Silva's still going to win the fight.
Absolutely.
And I highly doubt it's going to go 25 minutes.
If it goes 25 minutes.
Unless he feels like having another Damian Maia fight where he just dances around and...
Which, if anybody hasn't seen that fight, the first 2 rounds, hilarious.
UFC 112, people.
The last 3 rounds just piss you off.
Yeah.
Just for the record. But anyways, that's our predictions for UFC 134, Silva, Forrest, and Big Nog. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at ENT Elite 1. Follow us on Facebook at Entertainment Elite 1 at hotmail.com.